everybody, we are back for a second week. This is season 3. I'm so super excited. We have a special guest today, and we are going to talk about things that matter in real estate. So I'm glad you tuned in. Of course, this is Dr. Briley, and who's the guest today?
Dexter.
Yes. So we're going to get into some things, but how we start everything is, of course, we talk about something funny, or we talk about something that is unusual, or something that we were thinking about that happened this week, last week, or a month ago. So I'll start first this time. Usually I let the guest start, but so I don't know. It's almost like a two-part. But so Mother's Day weekend is coming, and there's a two-part because I don't even know what to get my mother. Like, my mother is a person that has every single thing. And she's not a technology person. I like technology. I like AI. I like all that kind of stuff. I like to fool around with that stuff. So for me, I saw a device that's coming out called Looky AI. And I don't know, it might be weird, y'all, but you wear the device on you and it captures your whole day. And then you talk to it and you say, recap my whole day, the happy parts, the sad. I
think I saw a Black Mirror episode about that.
Recap my day, and then it actually recaps your whole day and puts it in a video where you could just send it out like that. So for those that, and everybody knows, I do influencer work, I own a couple of companies, I got a whole bunch going on, and it's just easier for me to not like videotape stuff and then try to drop it into an app and ask the app to do something. And so that is a more easier device. Now, yes, it's capturing a lot of information, but they have this clause that this is what they say, which is whatever. They have this clause that say that, they're not gonna sell your information. They're not gonna But I guess I'm to a point that we have the Alexas, the Googles, all that stuff in your house, the smart TVs. I live in a smart house. It tells me when I have not locked my doors at this time. It's very unusual. You have not locked your doors at this time. One door is unlocked. So I don't know. And it's very affordable. I think it's like, and I'm not an influencer for it, but it's like $211. It's very affordable. But for my mother, I don't know what I'm gonna get her. So she's not into spa days. She's not into. It's just, I don't know. She's a woman that when she wants something, she goes and gets it. So it's hard to purchase things for people to have everything. So anything you have to share with us today and the viewers?
I mean, I got 3 kids and a working wife, so my whole life it sounds like it actually might help out. Like, have some recorded assistant there the whole time. But no, I think my last month has been completely dominated by my kids' extracurricular stuff.
Activities.
And so I've been very proud of them. My oldest won 2 robotics competitions, a poetry reading, and a wildlife identification contest. So I got best in the region and everything, blue ribbons all around. My middle child is I don't know if you know Destination Imagination, but she's in that. So her school made it through state, and they're going to the Globals in Kansas City in a couple weeks.
So you gotta go to Kansas City in a couple weeks.
Fly up there and ride the bus back home with a bunch of.
Oh my goodness. That's pretty
10-year-olds.
cool. Is the one you just spoke about, the first kid, is that through 4-H or is that through? Okay.
Yep.
My son was in 4-H, so we raised animals.
Gotcha.
So I understand how it is, and those proud moments when you've helped them so much during those times, and then they get a good ribbon or you're like, okay, this paid off.
Well, we got the boy as the youngest, and he, so he's probably going to be involved in that kind of stuff. But and then I guess he also was the kind of one of the lead roles in a kindergarten or it's kindergarten, but at a daycare play. So this is his last year. He's graduating from daycare.
That time go by so fast.
I know it. Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. It really, really goes by so fast, and that's why I always tell, like, parents, like my son now, I think he's in sitting over, and y'all don't see him on set, but he's sitting off to. I think he's 23. I know that's bad as a mother. I'm like, I think he, yeah. But as
I can't
time
even
goes,
remember my own age.
yeah, right. But as time goes on, you know, you don't realize how quick stuff moves. Like you really don't. I mean, I remember people kept saying, enjoy the moment, and it's like you're working, and then you go home and cook, and then you pay bills, and then you know, and then it's just like, and before you know it, I was at graduation. So it was like,
Absolutely.
what happened? I tell them I'm like, what happened? You grew up on me so fast. So I only have one, but yeah, enjoy the moments because they go like boom.
Yeah, they do.
Then it'll be like a wedding. You're like, what?
Yeah. Well,
You'll be bouncing a little grandbaby.
That's right. Yeah. No, every once in a while we get these reminders about like, oh yeah, we've only got my oldest just turned 11. It's like 7 more years. She's gonna be, what?
Yeah. What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened? And then you start thinking like, okay, what do we need to do for college? Like, how do we, prepare, and what do we need to, expenditures? Because as time goes on, things go more expensive.
Oh yeah.
For college. College 20 years ago or 15 years ago is not what it is today. So it just everything gets higher. So tell me, it's exciting to have you on the show because we've had attorneys on the show, estate attorneys, all types of attorneys when it comes to real estate. But this is like really exciting to have someone that's in the oil industry that can like tell us a little bit more about that and even tell us how you got into it. Like that, I mean, that's important too because, you don't always see that with attorneys. And like, is there a lot of oil, and am I saying it correctly? Oil attorneys, or how do you say it?
Well, if you're talking about the word, my wife will tell you that I don't know how to pronounce the word.
No worries, me either.
No, yeah, it's basically they call it oil, gas, mineral law.
Okay,
but most people just say oil and gas.
Okay, how did you get involved? Like, what made you? Like, what jumped you into that?
Well, so when I was in law school, my favorite professor, rest in peace, Lee Litton, he had oil and gas class. I wanted to take it. And my grandfather had been a petroleum engineer. I'd seen how the industry had treated him, and I always just kind of liked it. Well, I aced oil and gas, and it was just one of those topics of law that just kind of clicked in my head. It just made sense to me. Torts, on the other hand, like plaintiffs, I can't wrap my head around it. I can't figure out the logic there on how you can, blame a farmer for lightning hitting his farmhand.
Right.
That was the moment I knew that I wasn't going to do torts. So I did real well in oil and gas, and then I kind of always wanted to be in it. Money's good, industry wide. I don't know about. On the individual level.
Well, Texas is good with oil.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's the Texas industry. So
right.
I got out of law school, but I was broke. I just gotten married to my wife, who was a year behind me in law school, and so I just took the first job I could, which was a general practice firm, and worked there about a year until I got a friend of mine who was a landman. Had passed along my information to his crew chief, and they needed somebody. So he called me and asked if I wanted to join the crew, and I jumped on it. Everybody knows the show Landman. I've seen a couple of the rants on TV, but I don't really watch it.
I haven't seen. So it's a show called Landman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna watch it.
This is not a recommendation. I've never seen it, but I know when I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, that doesn't necessarily look like what I experienced.
Right.
But basically, if you think about it, let's say a big oil company wants to, drill a new well.
Right.
There's not really a phone book or like an index of who owns every tract of land in Texas, especially in Texas where we have private ownership of minerals.
Or spit in a handshake.
That's right. Yep. And I mean, there's a lot of that back in the day, So basically what they'll do is they'll pull out a map and say, we want to put a well here, and they get a landman to go find out who owns it. Because you can have all sorts of owners underneath under the ground. You have to pay taxes and live on, with the surface, that's one thing.
Right.
but the subsurface where the mineral ownership is, that's a completely different ballgame.
Okay.
You know, and each region of Texas has its own kind of quirks to it. I mean, if you go to East Texas, you've got thousands of people who could claim one piece of land,
Right.
and they also have the most difficult title to run too. So,
Right.
anyway, so that's what I was doing as a field landman. I would go out, research court records, reach out to landowners. You know, what's called title curative, which is where, I mean, there's not 1 inch of Texas, as far as I know, that does not have some defect with the title from you run all the way back to when Spain owned it, or Mexico, or whichever. Sovereignty is what we call that. And
does it make it hard, or?
I mean, I think it's fun. That's what I loved that job. Driving around, I saw these old historic courthouses. Yeah. You learn all sorts of stuff. I got 85 taco restaurants in my phone still to this day. And you know, you just kind of, it's a really cool way to learn Texas and just experience it. So I did that for a while. Oil went terrible, and my wife got pregnant with number 2. I had to get out of the field. I was working 8.5 hours away from the house at the time, in Seminole, Texas, which is
that's far.
The last town before New Mexico.
Right.
And so, I needed to get out of the industry, or I need to get out of the field. And so jobs were kind of tight back then. I took a real estate job doing foreclosures. It was kind of a full service, like representing the lender side of that.
Right.
And so, you know, any kind of default on a secured debt, that's what we were handling. Did that until oil rebounded, and then I was able to jump on with Teppick and Associates, which is a excellent law firm in downtown Houston. Worked there for just shy of 8 years, and then decided to hang my own shingle earlier this year.
Well, congratulations on that, because I always tell people, like, entrepreneurship is like, it's like a key thing to a legacy for your family. So as you're building it and building your legacy, I mean, everybody has to start somewhere. Somebody started Starbucks. Somebody started, you know, everything starts somewhere. And congratulations. That's really good. It's always, you know, work, but hey, it pays off at the end when you when you cultivate it, right? So in the industry, when I know you said that in the very beginnings you would drive around to different places for that company and try to find out about, do you still have to do that currently in your role of owning your business now? Is it the same type of research when it comes to it?
Sometimes I'll get into that. Mostly that's I've got landmen that I'll be able to connect with, and you know, you kind of get a crew that you trust. Like the guys and girls that I worked with down in South Texas at that first landman job I was talking about, we still keep up to this day. It's we were a very tight knit crew. I love those guys. And so, but what we were producing for this side of the industry, I'm the guy now I'm in the role that they would send their work to, which is, you know, collecting it, taking a look and see who owns what. You'll take an oil and gas lease that way off of that information. Then a title attorney will come along, verify everything, kind of take a liability, you know, in the accuracy of it. It's kind of they that's a big role there, is like making sure that, you know, there's a stamp of approval on it.
Just like a home where they take title policy and secured to make sure is it almost similar
the role that, or the benefit that it plays, yes. I mean, so because if I'm wrong, you know, if I'm wrong when I render a title opinion, it renders me liable for you know, malpractice, basically. So depending on, you know, what happened, where, and all that. But really what you're trying to do is minimize the likelihood of risk. And so even if you are right, wrong, whatever, the process of examining the title and saying, hey, look, there's an issue here, and here's how you fix it. And you do that before a lot of times you'll try to do that before you get the drill in the ground. But you just want to stay in front of it and make sure that, you know, all issues are at least covered before they become a problem. And so that's really the role of like a title attorney. Now, what I'm doing now is kind of it necessarily incorporates the title and everything, but I'm more focused on the workings of the enterprise itself, not necessarily writing title opinions, but
Right.
handling, pre-litigation matters and litigation.
So you manage, well, your company manages all of that for a duration for the client, or is it a short term, or?
Well, the model that I'm trying to do right now is outsourcing, outsource your in-house. It's
Right.
basically, instead of, if you don't have an attorney on staff, or if you don't want to have an attorney on staff, having somebody, I get a lot of my clients that our relationship kind of morphed into this general advisement role, where they would call me with one-off questions, and they don't necessarily need to have somebody on full staff
Right.
at all times doing that. And so if they've got a guy that they trust and who,
Right.
I've got a unique kind of skill set, having worked in the field and
Right.
on the way up, and I can answer a lot of the questions that some attorneys might not be able to.
Right.
And so this is obviously a cheaper alternative because they're not having to pay full salary to somebody, and at the same time,
Keep somebody on staff. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm dedicated to them, and that's kind of the relationships that we've cultivated
Right.
there. So, yeah. And then a lot of times issues will be put on them that they don't, it might be a pending lawsuit. Like they might have somebody reaching out to them with a demand letter, like, "Hey, you didn't pay us, and this is, this is an issue." Well, then I'll look at it and see if it's got merit or not, and then we try to work it out, because the last thing you want to do is end up in a lawsuit,
No.
whether you're the plaintiff or the defendant.
Right.
But so then all my clients, I advise the same thing. I say, look, litigation is the last option. You
Right.
don't want to be there. There's always a better idea,
Right.
before you get there. So
Mediation, something.
right,
Yeah.
and even just a phone call.
Right.
A lot of times, once the lawyers just talk on the phone, it's over. There's
Right.
Whether it's an ego thing, whether it's a pride thing, or
Right.
or whether it's just an inability to communicate because
Right.
Nobody's identified the actual disagreement.
Right.
And so you can knock a lot of that out of the way right early on, and it saves everybody money. Nobody wants to be in a lawsuit. Everybody,
Right.
gets mad.
Right. And I've also seen like sometimes errors, I don't know how they get lost in the mix when it comes when it comes to the initial land selling, or something happened and now it's all on the land, and now everybody's like, wait a minute,
yeah.
that was my grandpappy's.
Well, so
yeah.
that most of the time that's where it happens is when
Right.
somebody dies and they go intestate. Like in Texas, we've got there's laws of intestate succession, and it happens. It's kind of a weird legal like quagmire where technically it's effective the second somebody dies,
Right.
but because it takes time to either collect the information or put it on the record, stuff like that. There's things that happen in between.
Right.
Sometimes you'll have an affidavit of heirship, which is kind of the way you put on the record what the death facts are. Like this
Right.
person was married in 1942 to Stephanie, and then they had 3 kids. Sometimes those are wrong, and they don't get fixed for 50 years,
Right.
and so there'll be a whole kid left out.
Or never fixed at all.
Right.
And then this kid was, a real heir. I've seen it so many times, like a real heir, and then they've passed, but their kids find out
Right.
that they're heirs, and now it's once people start passing off, what I find out is, well, we have some land in Louisiana, so that's how I'm finding out. A peanut farm, y'all, peanut farm. So with lumber on it too. So as people die off, it makes it hard, like, because now you have, it's just it becomes a mess sometimes.
And there's certain communities that have never wanted to put paperwork down. For good reason. A lot of times people with money can take advantage of people without money, and
Right.
what ends up happening is you get this your guard up so much that you end up hurting yourself.
Right.
And so a lot of our title work has to do with those pockets where you do have 13 siblings that
Right.
never filed anything, and so you got to unwind that.
And it's an unwind.
Oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
an unwind.
And when I was it was a great story, just kind of indicates this. But there was this prospect in South Texas. It was a 256 acre tract of land. And oil companies, back then they wanted a certain threshold before they would of risk before they would start drilling. And so 90% of the title was of the owners had been leased. There was this outstanding 10% interest. It had been through a bunch of landman's hands, and it finally landed on my desk. I did the research. There's a lot of shots in the dark that went along with this. And I somehow found a name in a guest list book, like somebody who had been to a funeral, signed their name, and I called the name. I was looking at a scanned copy of it, and I called it, left a voicemail, put the file down. 3 months later, I get a phone call from that guy. Turns out his mother, who was the last connection we had to this land, his mother had gotten pregnant at 14, given him up for adoption to a Catholic charity program. Her siblings didn't even know about it. Yep. And the last time we had her mom's probate from like 1912 or something. It's the last time we saw anything to do with this land. Called my crew chief. I was like, I got it. And it was proudest moment I had. And he goes, "Oh yeah, they're not drilling it anymore." Yeah. But then I had another run sheet I was working on at the time. I found long lost heirs and called them and said, "Hey, you got land in Texas. We're trying to lease you. It was going to be a $10,000 check in their pockets." And the girl said, threatened my life. She was like, no, she thought I was scamming her. I'm like, no, this is the.
Who are you?
She said I had the same area code as her. We both are from Austin area. And I'm telling her, go to the courthouse, search your grandmother's name. You're going to see it right here. Right. And she goes, well, 512. Okay. Well, yeah, what if I'll just have my brothers go pay you a visit? I said, I got a lease them too, so please do.
They got a part of this too.
But they didn't. No, they didn't hurt me or get paid either.
You're here today.
But, yeah.
But that's the thing. People don't, sometimes when you get those phone calls, it is kind of shocking because you're like, what are you talking about? Like, nobody told me nothing about this. And who are you?
I know exactly where their mindset's at because I don't trust anybody. But I mean, enough of that, it jades you to the point, like with these people, that was a Wheel of Fortune prize, like that was,
that's extra money to pay your bills.
They don't even know they own it. It's like, anyway, and it's not like I'm buying it from them. I was just going to lease it. So,
is most of it leased when the equipment, most of it's leased? Nobody's trying to really buy it, right?
Well, the primary goal is leasing, but a lot of times, so there's I've got a bunch of clients who buy minerals. That's what they do. But then you also see operators who are the ones taking the leases, and then they are the ones, putting the drills in the ground and pulling the oil out of the ground. If they can buy the land there, they will. Okay. And so, in most cases, it's not, and it's also they got prices. They won't. Right. They won't overpay for it necessarily, but it does make things easier for them if they don't have to.
Because they are able to own everything without dealing with too much more. But it also has to be beneficial financially to do it as well, or they're not going to do it. Right.
Yeah. And it's not even a lot of people that, they're not in the oil and gas business. They just happen to have some minerals in, Pecos County. Without the oil company, they won't be able to do anything with that. And so it doesn't necessarily behoove them to have those minerals. So if the price is right for them, sell it. Right. It's a one day, it's like the lump sum payment versus the annuity or whatever you would call it, where you get royalty payments over time. But if that's not enticing to them, then it makes sense for them to sell. So it's a mutually beneficial transaction.
But nowadays, most people don't own their mineral rights, right?
No.
And what's the percentage now? It seems like not a lot of people own.
It's gonna, as time goes on, it consolidates. The people. But no, there's plenty of owners across Texas that are private citizens. one thing that that I really don't like seeing when I'm doing, title work that goes back, a couple hundred years,
Right.
is you'll see this one person who, just happened to be involved with the railroad or something like that back, and they got, and there was various government programs where they would, give sections of land to people as a way to populate,
The
Texas
area,
or
the Texas area.
and so, you'll see this family ranch that thousands of acres, and then it'll stay together for a long time. And then at some point you'll see it where one generation and they just sell it off. And you're just like, God, like the only thing I want in life is my own land to live on with my family. And
that's like a slice of heaven.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. It's like a slice. I tell people that on this channel that if you can do that, that's like a slice of heaven, because now you have, your own thing going on.
That's right. That's the end game for me. I mean, that's what my wife and I, we want to have like our spot and have, we want to have houses for all of our kids as they get older, get families of their own, to be able to come back to and stay there if they need, just.
Because you get help. That's like a unit that everybody can kind of, a situation, and it's not when a situation happens. There's going to be a situation one day. It's not if it happens. It's like when it happens.
That's right.
But you'll have this unit that if something happens, bam, you just walk across the acres of land and go, say, hey, we got this going on, And so it's just a better unity of, and I know I talk about, home ownership and communities, and I've had, talk about builders and had builders on, but it's a different sense to have your own, unmarked.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just
plant your flag.
Yeah,
and,
it's just different, and it's a good thing too. So even though I talk about the other side being good, this is even better, and everybody knows that's the way that I'm moving toward. Because I've stayed in many communities with HOAs, and I even stayed in HOAs, POAs, property owners associations, which that's a whole nother thing, because the property owners behind the gate makes the decisions, and sometimes those decisions can be very far-fetched, but it's nothing like having your own lot.
That's right.
With lots of acres where you can do what you need to do for your family and the dynamics that matches you and your family.
I think it keeps you grounded too,
Yeah. So when we talk about the land, drilling for the land, what's the actual process like? So is it a map out there to say, okay, that was oil 100 acres away, and there can possibly be some on this one? How does it continue? Like, how do everybody, well, not everybody in your industry, how do people know, like, okay, now let's look for these areas because we believe there's oil possibly, or
right. So what they'll do is geologists. They're the kind of the ones who are able to vet out the land before it's drilled. Okay. And we got the technology now with seismic operations to kind of see underneath the ground and kind of, I mean, it's not 100%, but you get, you can get a pretty good idea of how successful a well is going to be. I mean, at the end of the day, though, you are still
a lot different now.
Yeah, it's got to, like, where the rubber meets the road is still going to put. But yeah, back in the day, wildcatting and all that.
Right.
Yeah. And so, you can follow fault lines and kind of, see. A lot of times, what'll happen is somebody will drill a new formation in a new area that has, it's been proven in other formations in that same area, and the second one of these goes online and gets big, like everybody runs to go lease everywhere. You just, you kind of don't.
As soon as it's public knowledge, and it's like, woof.
That's right.
Okay.
And sometimes it's just the presence of like a big name. If if they find out that, if somebody finds out that one of these big major oil producers are leasing in an area, you'll get people just running in there, just taking leases, because there's value in just selling them the lease too.
Right.
And so whether you plan on operating it or not. And so, the process, I guess, basically, like they've got some scientific basis for thinking that there's oil under here. They send it out some landmen to get a pretty good idea who owns it. Okay. And then they'll take a lease from that person, which there's two main factors in how you get paid on an oil and gas lease as the landowner. There's the bonus payment, and then there's the royalty. The bonus payment is a one-time thing, and it's essentially non-refundable. It's just like That's what's at risk when you take an oil and gas lease without having done a lot of research. But once you got it leased, then you got site control. You don't have to worry about somebody else elbowing in and taking your land or beating you to the punch. So after that happens, and then the lease will also have a set fraction or percentage of royalty that's payable to the landowner. So you get the one-time payment for signing the lease. Sometimes you'll get a payment for extending the lease if, that lease will be anywhere from, typically your standard lease is 3 years.
Okay.
3-year primary term. So that means the oil company's got 3 years to get a well in the ground. But sometimes there will also be a clause for an extension, which is typically like a 2-year extension, so 3 plus 2. And you get paid a bonus for both of those.
Right.
Those are one time, that's the oil company knows that they're risking that money, that they'll never see it again. The royalty, that's something that can be adjusted based on ownership. So let's say it turns out that I think that you own half the minerals under here, and I pay you a bonus, and with a lease that provides you for a 3/16 royalty. So that means every barrel of oil that comes out of the ground, 3/16 of that cost is yours, or profit.
The royalty,
profit. The revenue. That's the word I'm looking for. So anyway. Well, if it turns out that you don't own 1/2, you actually own 1/8. Well, your royalty is going to be affected. Like you're going to get 3/16 of 1/8 instead of 3/16 of 1/2, but you're going to keep that bonus.
Okay.
So then, once they've got the whole area leased up, or at least most of it, and it's going to be tracks that most of the drilling that goes on these days is not what's called vertical wells, but horizontal wells, which means the wellbore kind of goes down into the earth at a little bit of an angle, and then it runs along horizontally a mile or two, and it's got different take points, they're called, underneath it, where they fracture the shale underneath, and they collect from multiple holes, not just like a straw.
Not just one, right?
Right.
Okay.
So it'll be like a straw that's got holes in the side of it.
So not like way back in the days, it's just this one hole, and so now they've perfected it better.
Yeah. To that way they can. It's essentially drilling like multiple wells with one wellbore.
Okay.
Because you get take points throughout. So anyway, it's rare that somebody's going to own that entire tract. And so what ends up happening is you take all the leases from all the neighboring landowners that are going to be over that tract, and then the leases will typically provide for a pooling provision, which is where everybody who's agreed to it, they form what's called a unit, and that unit will be made up. Let's say it's a 700-acre unit. That 700 acres might be made up of 4 or 5 different tracts of 120 acres here, 230 acres there. But once you pool all those lands into one unit, then you use a mathematical, way to proportion out who owns how much of production that comes out of there. Okay. And it gets treated as one tract of land for the purposes of this well. It's treated as one tract of land at that point. And so if I had 100% of 100 acres that is in that 700-acre unit, I get 1/7 of what gets pulled out, regardless of where the wellbore goes. Okay. Otherwise, you got to have the wellbore under your tract in order to get paid on it. Okay. So that's how that works. So they'll do that drill, and it can take anywhere from a week to a couple months to get that thing knocked out.
Does technology tell you, or does technology tell how many barrels or how long it's going to produce ahead of time?
They can kind of estimate what the total size of the reservoir is under there, and kind of give you a temperature check on like how is this going to be a really good well, do you think? Right. But it's still a risk at the end of the day. Oh, okay. Yeah, and because you'd never know until it comes out. And there's a lot of things that can get messed up along the way. That's why it's important to know who you're leasing to, because you don't want some yahoo to know how to do casing correctly, or they're going to use the wrong subcontractors to do the casing, and it's called a dry hole,
and then you lose what
I wish I knew at the start. Trusting BlueScorpion Property Preservation Management Group with our commercial landscaping was the best decision ever. BlueScorpion Property Preservation Management Group has been transforming commercial spaces into green paradises. Our clients can't stop raving about us. Just listen to what they have to say.
First client review. Our property has never looked this good. 5 stars all the way.
Second client review. Professional, reliable, and simply the best in the business. 5-star service.
From lush green lawns to vibrant floral displays, we've got it all covered. Our dedicated team ensures your property not only looks great but stands out.
Third client review. Their attention to detail is incredible. Our landscaping has never been in better hands. 5 stars.
Whether you're a business or an individual, BlueScorpion Property Preservation Management Group brings expertise, reliability, and a touch of magic to every project. Ready to transform your property? Join the 5-Star Club! Because at BlueScorpion Property Preservation Management Group, we believe every property deserves to shine. BlueScorpion Property Preservation Management Group, where properties thrive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so anyway, once that happens, they start selling it, and they'll pay out monthly. You know, gas is, you know, one thing, and oil is the other. Like the well is either going to be classified as gas well or oil well, depending on how much of whichever is coming out. Now, the oil company's going to know what they're drilling for,
Right.
And there's different formations that are better for different forms of gas versus oil.
So, like, what's the longest, I guess, of, because it seemed like my family been getting a royalty check for a long time. I mean, it went from my grandmother to my mother. Now, let's get this correct. Don't be looking for me thinking I got all this money, because these checks get little words. I mean, they start off one way and then I don't know how to explain it. It just, they get a little smaller and it keeps, you know. So how, I guess, what's the longest that they just keep, I mean, getting oil? Or
I mean, I think there's oil wells that have been pumping, as far as I know, for maybe 100 years. I mean,
yeah, and we must
that's
have
very
one of
rare.
them. Yeah, well,
right.
we must have one of them because it went through my mother's mother,
Yep.
grandmother, then my grandmother, then my mom, and it's still producing. But as it goes, it's still, the check gets divided between the heirs
Right.
too. So that's when the checks get a little bit smaller. But for it to be producing that long, I mean, that's
Right.
a long time.
So that's kind of, if you think about, you know, just the properties of a natural resource, you know, it's
Okay.
going to picture, it's like a swimming pool down there. And I mean, every gallon you pump out is going to be a gallon that's not there anymore. So as it, you know, as it's producing, that's going to dwindle over the years.
Right.
But there's, I mean, it's also a massive, you know, reservoir that Texas has several that, you know,
Right.
it's just going to constantly drain down towards,
Right.
if it's in a good spot, if it's in a low spot of the
Right.
formation, whatever.
And then it also, I guess, matters too that if they're owning 300 or 400 acres of land and they own all of it, then that's
Right. Well, and so the other thing about that will lead a well to be pumping for, you know, very low numbers for years on end is because it's holding the lease. And so you will have, there's a couple of operators that had leases back in the 70s, or maybe a little bit earlier, that was back when the royalty was 1/8. It was just kind of the industry standard was 1/8.
right.
And there's a clause in modern leases called a pew clause. Now, a pew clause, what that does is it says, you know, at the end of this lease, if there's a well that's still producing, the lease will remain effective to that well. However, all the rest of the land outside that well, the lease is gone.
Okay.
And then there's also a death severance one, which is kind of a pew clause, but it's for formation. So if you got a well that goes down 10,000 feet, well, at the end of the lease, the primary term of the lease, everything below 10,000 will be released. And they didn't really exist back in, you know, before,
Right.
you know, the 70s, 60s. And so those wells that you see that are pumping, you know, 4 barrels, that and have been doing that for a decade,
Years.
is because that lease is being held by that production in its entirety for the entire acreage that's on it. Now, what you're hoping is that it's eventually somebody's going to come in and drill another well on the property with that lease.
Right.
But the second they plug that well, the lease is gone. Now they got to get a new lease.
Another
which-
whole new, yeah.
Right. And so they got to pay bonus money again. They got to renegotiate. They're going to because those are legacy leases back in the 1/8 days, it's rare to see a 1/8 lease these days. Now,
Right.
royalty is typically much higher.
Right.
And so if they have to release, they're going to be.
It's more beneficial to keep it old than to jump it new, because now the pricing and the things, that's why I said the little bitty checks, that's a lot different.
Now, there is a threshold there. There is production that is too low to count as economical. And
Right.
so if somebody's an operator and they're getting greedy on that, they're letting this well last that is just barely pumping out anything. There's ways that, that's when the lawyers come in.
Right.
We can force the operator to say,
Hey,
drill something or release the lease.
right.
And
It doesn't make sense because we're in 2020, we're
Yeah.
in a whole new era now.
Right. Well, and when I was working in Burleson County, which is outside College Station, I was leasing or involved in leasing people who were neighbors with some people who had those ancient 1/8 leases that they just see their pump jack going up and down. Meanwhile, everybody around them is getting massive checks to sign new leases and getting paid twice as much royalty. And it's, you see that happening, and there's nothing they can do to get out of it until the oil company, drops the ball, and then they can try to break that. So.
And Texas is huge in oil and gas. That's that's what we what is like the history of I guess our oil boom? Like what just
Well, Spindletop was the basic, kind of coming on the scene for Texas. And if you looked at it back in the early days, you could walk across the wells around the Spindletop area. You just walk across them without touching the ground. They were that.
wow.
I don't know if that may be an exaggeration,
What,
but
right,
it's about the
right.
same. But I've heard somebody say that before.
Right.
And you could see the pictures. It's insane. It looks like a pile of toothpicks.
Wow.
And so, that was, 100 years ago. And since then, it exploded on vertical wells across the state. And the Permian Basin, which is out in Midland area, like the West Texas. You've got the Barnett, which is in North Texas. You got the, Eagle Ford, which is South Texas. All these formations across the state, they all have their unique properties.
Right.
And it was the Eagle Ford that really kind of was the next biggest moment for Texas oil, was when we started fracking. And what that is basically you drill down into the shale, and then you use controlled charges to cause cracks in the in the formation, and that allows oil to seep in, or gas to seep in through those cracks. And that's really what put Texas over the top with our ability, in America for that matter, with our ability to produce and challenge, the Middle East for oil production.
So since you said fracking, I know some people say, the fracking hurts the environment, but if it's there and it's for us to utilize and use, is technology helping it to be better, maybe to not hurt the environment, I guess, so much, because you have your environmental list, and but at the end of the day, it's natural resources that can be, used. So
well, as far as it being hurtful to the environment, it's a load. Like people, they're
okay.
people got their own
like
agenda.
This myth of, because you hear like environmentalists that says, that's why this happened, because of, if we wouldn't dig for this, or we wouldn't use, our.
They got their own agenda. It has nothing to do with the environment. I promise you that. Yeah,
because that's the new word, the fracking. So when somebody told me that, I was like, well, what is that? And a couple of years ago, I heard it in I went to, I don't know, it was a convention of, I guess, I can't remember what the convention was about, but they had a guy talking about it, and talking about how the state of Texas, and how if we don't do different things to our natural resources, then we can, live a better, healthier, more sustainable life, and things of that nature. But we also need the resources in order to keep, different things to keep the things going.
He's got an excellent point that if all we need to do is pay more people, more money, and give the government more control of what we do. And then they're going to solve everything, just like they've done over the last, history of humanity. No, that's all it is. It's
y'all don't hear about the producer. Everybody's laughing.
Yeah, that's. I mean, like at the end of the day, they like to move the target, and they're very opportunistic,
Right.
and I just. I'm just going to keep my head down and keep doing
keep doing your job. Yeah.
Keep making the wall that makes the phones that
Right.
they tweet all this nonsense
Right.
on.
Right. Well, and keeping things moving, so even, because now we're in an age of solar, smart cars, all of this stuff. So where do you see the oil and gas industry in the next maybe 10 years?
I mean,
possibly?
So there's room for all of that at the same time. That's the
Okay.
thing. Like people want to angle in and say, look, there's a time and a place for all this stuff. But
Right.
A hailstorm, if your city is powered by solar, hailstorm, hey,
Right.
there comes the blackout. Same wind is just, I got my own opinions
Right.
about that. But all this, they all have their upsides and downsides. They do. And so using all of it combined to be as secure as possible, I think should be the aim.
Right.
I mean, you could see how ERCOT handled the vortex that came through. I mean,
Right.
if we saw the weaknesses in the system,
Right.
Now whether they've addressed that,
Right. And hopefully we don't have another, but hopefully it has been addressed, because you don't know until it happens.
doesn't
right?
sound like it has, but
I know, right? But
yeah.
you don't know until it happens again.
Right.
And we hopefully, because I was one, I've talked about it on the show before. I was one a month and I was out with no lights or nothing. And that's when I learned I need a generator.
bingo.
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing. You got a generator,
Right.
but it's not how you're powering your home every day.
Right.
So you get a mix of this stuff. Like,
Right.
I got some generators and I've got solar panels for the generators
Right.
because I don't want to be relying on one thing. It kind of goes
Right.
back to the whole reason we want to live on a little
Oh,
commune.
Lord.
It's not to have to rely on it.
Right. Right.
So yeah, if we have a grid that's set up to power when there's if it's overcast, well, there goes solar. So what are we going
Right.
to use for that? There's no wind today. Well, there goes the wind. So if it's situationally smart to do it, then
Right.
I think that's how you should do it. Diversify
Right,
it.
because you have to align yourself in it. Because things happen, and you don't. You're not necessarily prepared to say, "Oh, it's we're not. Every one of us is not the doomsday,
Right. Yeah.
But when it happens, and you go, "Oh, maybe I should, do X, Y, Z to not be in that situation until you
Right.
won't know."
Like just learn from it instead of being adversarial about everything.
Right, right.
Because I've handled wind leases. I've handled, I've been involved with solar leases and oil and gas. I do all of that stuff. And
Right.
it's not, I have no animosity towards anybody. I do have animosity if somebody's going to say not to,
Right.
to demonize industry.
Right, or
Especially an industry-
absolutely not.
Right. It's an industry that's so important to not just Texas, to America. It's just short-sighted to demonize that. And,
Right.
And so, I got my own opinions on what the agenda is behind people who are trying to do that.
Right. Is there any state that does not have oil? Is there any state out here that?
There's more states that don't really do oil than you can kind of, like California has some of the, some outstanding oil production.
Right.
The city of LA is peppered with wells. The thing is, they've outlawed leasing in it, and all the existing wells, while they sit there and have
Right.
their climate agenda that they
Right.
throw.
The environmental.
They're probably sitting next to a pump jack that's hidden by a
Right.
building.
Right.
That's not. You can go on tours of them, where
Right.
they've got these empty buildings that are just hiding a pump jack because
Right.
I don't know if it's state, county, or city.
Something.
But yeah, they had to cover them. But they've been pumping for years. It's from
Right.
Hollywood days, like the golden age of Hollywood. So there's more oil out there than people think. But yeah, there's certain states where it's much better. There's big areas like the Dakotas, and you go out to West Virginia and Pennsylvania. They've got all their different places. But Texas is
By far the
Yeah.
one
And
of the.
and what's cool about Texas is it's privately owned. you know, a lot of those other states, it's a lot of federal land.
Right.
Or state land, and like New Mexico is very
Right.
a lot of state and federal land that, you know, I guess we benefit as
Right.
you know, a
Because
country.
we're cattle and agriculture, and so a lot of us have land because of.
Right. Well, I think the individual is a much better steward than the
Yeah.
government is. So it's
Yeah.
you know, that's what I love about, you know, working in Texas in particular is you get. I mean, I've looked at documents that were signed by Stephen F. Austin.
Oh wow.
You know, like it's really cool to see that.
Yeah. To see it go so far back. Do you practice in other states other than Texas, or?
Right. Well, so when I was at my prior firm, we had people licensed everywhere.
Okay.
And now that I'm on my own, I'm having to kind of catch up to the curve and go get licensed in all these other places. So I'm in the process of that. But
Okay.
if I do, it's going to be, you know, like the priority here is going to be New Mexico.
Okay.
I got some stuff going on in
Places
Kansas.
that matter.
Well, right now it's places that call me.
Right.
So that's why they matter.
Where the phone rings.
That's right.
So-
But yeah, Louisiana's got a lot. So I should.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that I've got, you know, all that taken care of so that, you know, I can handle emergency issues that come through. But
Right.
right now, so I'm licensed in Texas and federally as well, which federal allows me to ad hoc into a few places if I have a matter that's in a federal court outside of Texas.
But Texas should keep you pretty busy.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah,
But,
that should keep you pretty busy because Texas is a large, you know, you don't know about it until you're driving to get out of town and you're like, we're still in Texas.
Oh.
We're still driving.
Well, back when I was working that job that I said I left in order to come back to my wife,
Right.
if she left her house to go to Pensacola at the same time as me going to work, she'd get there first.
Right. Because I mean, you just keep driving and driving. You're like, we're
Yeah.
still in Texas.
Yep.
Well, what time is it? We're
That's
still
right.
in Texas. So as we wrap up, is there anything? We're gonna give you an opportunity to also teach people and tell people how to get in contact with you. But is there any key component out there that like somebody should know when it comes to, you know, maybe calling you or having questions? Because sometimes people shy on, you know, asking a question because they might think it's a dumb question or something when it comes to oil and gas or something because they're new in it, or
Right.
you know, or it might be somebody that's viewing that wants to get into the field and just is like interested in it. Is there
Yeah.
any takeaway that you want to share?
Don't sign anything without talking to a lawyer.
That's true.
No, there's. I think a misconception that some people might have is it sounds like a scam when somebody picks up the phone and calls them saying, you know, something to do with oil. Look, the price might be a scam. They may be trying to get one over on you, but they're not calling you. They're not calling you unless you got something there.
Right.
And so you pick up the phone for that.
Right.
Make sure that, you know, if you've got a relative that has land and passed away, make sure that you're on the spot about doing your probate. Call an attorney. I mean, it's not. You'll be surprised at the. It's not cost prohibitive to do a lot of that stuff. You know, you can really take care, and a lot of it you can go straight down to the courthouse and handle, you know, the affidavits. But it's smart to at least talk to an attorney. A lot of attorneys like myself will talk to you for free and
Right.
let you make an informed decision whether you want to actually, you know, have us do something for you.
Right.
But you know, one of my mentors early on made it a point to say, if you've ever seen attorney and counselor at law, don't forget about the counselor part. You know, people are hiring an attorney because they need somebody who's knowledgeable in the law, but
Right.
they also need peace of mind. And that is something that I've learned from dealing with my clients is they don't necessarily ever express it, but you can hear it in their voice when they
Distress.
feel right. And you can feel the peace and calm,
Right.
like a sense of relief
Right.
when something that they've been, you know, concerned with
Right.
has turned out to be not true, because the worst demons are the ones that are in your head.
Right.
And so, yeah,
They just don't have that information at hand, and they think that like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna, you know, what am I do now?
Yeah. And the other thing I would say is if you are talking to an attorney about oil and gas, talk to an oil and gas attorney. I have dealt with way too many, like, oh, my friend at the church is a divorce lawyer.
A divorce lawyer.
Yeah, and it's like, and not, as soon as I pick up the phone for them, I'm like, I got to teach my client oil and gas. I got to teach their client oil and gas, and I got to teach
Right.
them oil and gas in order to have any kind of productivity here. So yeah, just make sure that people are scared of lawyers for good reason. And
Right. Well, I'd say that's why I have so many different attorneys on the show, y'all, because that is absolutely true. You know, everybody has a different, like, an entity or a field, and it's important to get wedged into the right attorney in the right field, because you can be misled just because, like you said, oh, my friend from the church is a divorce, attorney, and they can possibly help. And no, that probably wouldn't be the good fit,
Well, and that rears its head a lot of times at the end, not until the end.
Right.
You'll be going through this entire thing, and you're both frustrated on what are we even negotiating over, and then you get to the very end, and you realize, wait a minute, this guy didn't even understand, some basic term, and you've been on different planets,
wavelengths, and
thinking you're having the same conversation, but really it's just they don't know what they're talking about. So
right.
And that's also where a lot of litigation can end up. I mean, that's kind of, I just won a lawsuit out in West Texas, Dawson County, where my client inherited her half interest from her parents, and the other side was arguing that it should be half of that. And so we never got, and that was not necessarily related to miscommunication between attorneys. It was non-communication between heirs. And we couldn't come to an agreement, so we had to go to court for it,
Right.
And so that's where that ends up, and it ends up being
unfortunate, but it happens. So this is the takeaway for me today, y'all. I love it. I love it. And y'all know I own a property management company, so I'll be wearing this in the field because summertime is coming. So how can people get in contact with you? How can they reach you if they have those questions?
Oil.law. That's
Okay.
my website, oil.law. And that for my accent, OIL, the stuff we've been talking about this whole time.
Right.
Oil.law.
Okay.
That's my website. All my contact information's on there. C. Dexter Jordan IV PLLC is the name of the firm. I'm located up in the Woodlands, but I have basically at least a statewide practice, and then as needed, I can go elsewhere.
And you're the fourth or the fifth?
Fourth.
Fourth.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have a son do you have you said
Well, that's a whole different podcast. So he's actually we stopped at the fourth. My son, he's still CDJ, and he's still Dexter Jordan, but his first name is not Charles. It's Cormac.
Okay.
And so
I'm not gonna get into it because I don't want the wife mad at me.
I'm the one who put it in the logo. I mean, it's kind of.
But that's pretty cool because when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's pretty. Because you don't hardly see that that anymore. Like that's pretty cool.
Here's the funny story to start. It was when I went to Denny's one time. There was a waiter who was named Napoleon the 26th. Now, he said it wasn't related to Napoleon, and I think it was probably all a joke to begin with anyway. But when I saw that, I was like, it's got to end at some point, right?
So it got to end at some point. Well, I want to just let everybody know, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. It's funny that you said Denny's because one of the guests that'll be coming on the next shows is, he's owner of a lot of Denny's in the North area.
I love Denny's.
Oh yeah, we all when we're like late at night looking for food. It's a consistency of how they do things there, so that helps when we're looking for food, a consistency of that how it's gonna taste. But we want to say thank you, and like always, y'all stay healthy, wealthy, and wise, and we'll do the same. And thanks for tuning in and watching the shows. And if you need something, go through those clips because there's so much information out there on YouTube that I provided with different individuals talking about their field, and it's amazing. So keep up, catch up, watch the shows, and thank y'all for joining in. Thanks. Bye-bye.